timer ready. The tiniest bird is fluttering around. Its wings are moving so fast, it makes a humming sound. Wow, it just dove upside down. Hello, my name is Angelina. I am 13 years old and a member of the Acton Craft 4-H Club. This is my first year in 4-H and my first visual presentation. Let's dive into learning about these fast flyers. Hummingbirds are in the scientific grouping called the Apodiformes, which literally means without feet. They look like they don't have feet, but they do. Hummingbirds flap their wings so fast, it sounds like humming. Hummingbirds are one of the smallest birds. The bee hummingbird weighs less than 2 grams, which is less than what a dime weighs. Their wingspan is 1 1/4 inches. Their nest is the size of a quarter, and their eggs are the size of a coffee bean. Hummingbird wings flap really fast. The bee hummingbird beats its wings 80 times a second during flight. It sounds like this. Bzzz. They beat even faster when finding a partner. The giant hummingbird is the largest, weighing the same as 4 sheets of printer paper or 20 grams. Their wingspan is 9 inches. They beat their wings 15 times a second, much slower than the bee hummingbird. I cannot see either of these birds in real life, but I can see the ruby-throated hummingbird. It is the only hummingbird that lives in Massachusetts, weighing in at 3 grams or the weight of a penny. Their wingspan is 3 to 4 inches. At a moderate speed, they beat their wings 53 times a second. Their nest is 2 inches across and 1 inch deep, like this box. They have short feet which prevent them from walking, so they shuffle along a perch. In general, hummingbird beaks are shaped to reach deep into flowers to get their nectar. Their beaks are long and needle-like. Hummingbirds move their wings in a figure-8 shape. They are agile flyers, able to stop instantly and hang motionless in midair. They can fly backwards and even upside down as they go from one flower to another. Hummingbirds like to defend their feeding sources and will start fights with birds who pose a threat. Male birds in particular may defend their nectar by chasing other birds and jabbing them with their beaks. As you can see, I'm pretending this stuffed owl is a hummingbird. If there are multiple species of hummingbirds in one area, the larger birds will get what they want. Hanging a hummingbird feeder can attract hummingbirds to feed in front of the house. It is important to use the right ratio of 1 part sugar to 4 parts water in the feeder. And remember, don't include any food coloring as this could hurt the birds. Change the water frequently so that it doesn't ferment in high temperatures, turning to alcohol. Do birds get pulled over for flying under the influence? Hummingbird feeders should be filled during the end of the season, which is towards the end of summer when flowers become less plentiful. This helps the birds to get enough energy for their migration down south. Sugar water in the feeder is like nectar in flowers, providing both sugar for energy and water so they don't need to find other water sources. Some of their favorite flowers to feed off of are honeysuckle and coral bells. They are attracted to red tubular flowers, which is why many hummingbird feeders are red. The hummingbird visits 1,000 to 2,000 flowers a day. They transfer pollen from flower to flower as they gather their nectar. This helps in pollination. Nectar does not give them sufficient fat and protein which they need for a healthy diet. To get these nutrients, they also eat aphids, beetles, and mosquitoes, larvae, insect eggs, and spiders. Hummingbirds eat half their body weight in insects and nectar every 10 to 15 minutes. Adult hummingbirds must eat several insects daily, but will eat more if they need to regurgitate and feed their hatchlings or are migrating. When a hummingbird has trouble finding nectar, it might stick its long beak into holes drilled by woodpeckers to get tree sap. While sap isn't as sweet as nectar, it still gives them energy in the form of sugar. Insects may also be found in sap residue. Fruit that is open flesh provides juice for them. The bee hummingbird lives in rainforests on the main island of Cuba as well as bushes at the forest edge. Giant hummingbirds hummingbirds live in the Andes in high altitude forests in the summer, but in the winter they retreat to lower altitude areas because of the cold. Ruby-throated hummingbirds live in deciduous forests during mating, but in their wintering grounds they live in dry forests and citrus groves. Hummingbirds bind their nests together with spider webs. They use the web to anchor the nest to twigs and tree branches. Nests sometimes use pine resin to hold together. Their nest is placed on whatever tree is handy, but some scientists have noticed they prefer deciduous trees. Over the years, they have become accustomed to human habitation, making nests in loops of chain, wire, and even extension cords. The hummingbird female stamps on the base to make it stiff, but the walls of the nest are still soft. She uses her body to shape the edge by pressing it between her neck and chest. Lichen and moss are used to camouflage and protect hatchlings from predators. It usually takes 6 to 10 days to finish making a nest. When migrating, these birds can fly 500 miles nonstop at a time. It takes them 18 to 22 hours at roughly 25 miles per hour for each leg of their journey. Now, you might think this is very slow compared to a jet that flies 500 miles per hour, but think of their sizes. Unlike geese, which fly 40 miles per hour and in V formation, hummingbirds make the trip alone. To give perspective, if you drove a car from Massachusetts to Guatemala in Central America, which is approximately 3,500 miles, then that's how far hummingbirds need to migrate. They go to warmer climates in the south when it's fall for us, before it starts getting too cold for them, and come back to North America in the spring. Feeders should be taken down at the first sign of frost so that hummingbirds won't be tempted to stay in the area. If they stay in the north too long, they will die from exposure to the cold. Today, I have talked to you about different hummingbird facts, what makes up their diet, where they live, and their migration habits. This concludes my visual presentation. For resources, I use audubon.org, allaboutbirds.com, animalia.bio, and perkypet.com. Are there any questions?
You said that hummingbirds are attracted to the color red, and that's the reason that hummingbird feeders are often red. If that's the case, then why is the specific nectar dispensary point yellow?
The question was, if hummingbirds are attracted to red, why is this thing yellow? I do not know, but I think if that thing was also red, they might have trouble finding it.
Do you have a favorite hummingbird?
The question was, do I have a favorite hummingbird? Yes, my favorite is the bee hummingbird. Yes.
Are you aware that there's actually also a bee that looks like a hummingbird? There's a bug that also is known as the hummingbird bee. It's like the same name, but it's actually a bug. Have you heard of that?
The question was, have I heard of a bug that looks like a hummingbird? I have not, but that sounds very interesting.
If you get a chance, look it up, because we thought we had a teeny tiny hummingbird, and it was actually a bee that looks like a hummingbird. I think it was a bee. It looks like a hummingbird. So just fun fact.
It might also be a moth, I'm not sure.
Or maybe a moth. Sorry.
It's one of the two.
Yeah.
A hummingbee bird?
Hummingbird moth. Thank you. I was like bee moth.
We have the bird moth.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes?
Can I ask?
Yes.
I was wondering if you watch any hummingbirds near your house.
The question was, do I watch any hummingbirds near my house? I have not yet, but since my wonderful 4-H leaders have given me a hummingbird feeder, I might try it this year.
I have a question.
Yes?
I also have a statement, which is, yes, it's the hummingbird moth, and I've seen them in my house. They're very cool. I'd like to see one someday. But my question is, do you know of any plants that you could plant that might attract hummingbirds? And is there any reason that you might choose a plant for a feeder, like one or the other?
The question was, are hummingbirds attracted to any plants? And if plants can be used as feeders?